perhaps it will be very brief. And
all right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Eli, for putting this together. It's been wonderful. Good to see so much interest in sherry wines. With all the wines in the world, you know, we represent a small wine region. We're located in the south of Spain, but there's a lot of tradition. In fact, we've been making wines. The first vines were brought to the region by the Phoenicians 3,000 years BC. So, and since then, even during Arab occupation of the south of Spain and everything, we've been producing wines. Wines were exported to Rome. So we have a long tradition in winemaking. Our wines are different, and they're different because they belong to a category called fortified wines. Does anybody know what that means? Fortified wines are wines to which a little bit more of alcohol is added. And can anybody know why we add a little bit more alcohol? Is it just because we Spanish people like to get a bigger buzz and have more fun? Well, there's some of that, but the reality is that these wines were meant to travel. And the sherry industry developed in the 17 and 1800s. Most of these sherries had to travel by boat to England and the northern part of Europe. And in those days, it was a long voyage by sea. So sometimes the wine did not arrive in good condition. And they discovered that if they added a little bit more alcohol, fortify the wine, it acted as a preservative, and it helped the wine to travel better. But most importantly, Jerez, the sherry, is an appellation. It's a region. Jerez sherry takes its name from the name the Arabs gave to the town where these wines are made. That was the area of Sherish, and we have a very old map from a geographer called Il Idrissi, where it's perfectly shown the city and the name Sherish. And for many years it was wines of Sherish. Then it became sherry wines. The English they switched the name from Sherish to sherry wines, and then it just became sherry. And because they traveled well, they became very popular, and other countries started imitating the style and producing fortified wines similar to the wines of Jerez. And in this day, in the United States, only 1 out of 10 bottles of sherry sold in this market are authentic, are from Jerez. And to have domestic sherry, like sherry made in California, we also make sherry in Canada as well, it's just as absurd as to have those jug wines that you see in the grocery stores that sell Burgundy by Carlo Rossi. We all know it's not Burgundy. We all know it's not even Pinot Noir. But it's exactly the same thing. When you see sherry there and it says Sheffield, or it says Taylor, or whatever, or it says Fairbanks, that is not sherry. That is a domestic fortified wine that has nothing to do with what we're going to taste tonight. Because what makes sherry unique is, first of all, the varietal. The varietals that we use. We use 3 varietals there, mainly Palomino. 3 of the wines that we're going to taste today are made of Palomino. Then there's another great variety called Pedro Jimenez. And we're going to taste another wine of Pedro Jimenez. And we're going to taste each expression of the varietal individually. But then by combining and blending those 2 great varieties, we have an incredible array of wines. I mean, we represent in this country, we bring approximately 12 different styles of sherry. We're going to show 4 different styles today, but the range is much broader. Just to give you an idea of the diversity, and if you like what you taste today, I would suggest that you continue to explore and taste different styles, and from González Pías and from other producers, because they're really wonderful wines. Another thing that makes sherry unique is the region, of course, the geographical conditions that we find in this area, the type of soil, a soil called albariza. Albariza is a very white soil, very high in calcium carbonate, very chalky soil, and it's indispensable for the cultivation of grapes here, because we are in the most southern extreme of Spain, in the most southern part. You can sit on the beach in the south of Spain and you can see the cars driving at night in the coast of Morocco. That's how south we are. And the climate is very arid, very dry. It only rains during a few months in the winter, and then it's dry. We have 300 days of sunshine there. So those of you that like Well, the beautiful golf courses down there. But this soil, the Albarita soil, has the ability to retain all of the water during the winter and then supply the plant during the long hot summer months. And finally, another element that makes sherry unique is the aging system. Sherries are aged in a system called the Solera system, a system by which we blend different vintages together. So if you come and take a look at this bottle, you will see there is no vintage reference in the bottles. This is because when the trade was developing, our customers in Northern Europe, they said, okay, we love your wines, but we don't want, you know, next year that you bring a different product or you bring a different quality. We like it as it is. Can you guarantee that you're going to bring consistency, that you're going to be able to deliver a consistent product? And I said, we thought about it and said, okay, well, and then we invented the Solera system, which is a dynamic blending system. And to quickly explain this, basically at the winery we have the barrels arranged in tiers. So we have rows of barrels stacked on one on top of each other. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, etc. So the bottom tier, the one that's closest to the suelo, to the ground, is called the Solera, and that contains the oldest wines. So when we're going to bottle wine, Eli calls me, hey Felipe, the Sardinado was a fantastic event, huge success. I need 10 pallets of vino. So we go to the winery and we have to bottle that. So we go to the bottom row, to the first row, first tier, and take out a fraction of wine. We never empty those barrels completely. We just take out a little, and then we bottle it, and then we ship it here. Then we go to the second tier, take out a fraction, and replenish the first tier. Then we go to the third and replenish the second. And then we go to the fourth and replenish the third. And the top tier is replenished with the wine we made that year. So this works like a waterfall. And we're constantly blending the younger wines with the older ones. And the younger wines very quickly acquire the character of the old wine. Wow. And this is a pretty interesting method, because if you take a bottle of Tío Pepe, it takes more than 60 vintages to get a bottle of Tío Pepe. So you're actually minimizing the impact of the harvest, of the vintage. And everybody praises the vintage, and it's a great opportunity to promote your wines. But what do you do when you don't have a good one? Well, you just keep quiet and not talk about it. But here we minimize it. So it has its pros and its cons. It has the pros that is a consistent product, and it's hard enough trying to remember what the 2005, the 2009 vintage was in Burgundy and in Bordeaux, as to worry about what the vintage was in Jerez. So you don't have to worry about it. It's a consistent product resulting from multiple vintages. That is a system also utilized, not in the same Solera system, but blending vintages is also done in another very well-known wine region. Does anybody know which one? Champagne. Champagne constantly blends
Champagne, en Francia, ¿no?
in order to achieve that consistency and that
Mi tierra, mi
and then
raza.
I'm going to talk about something that is very important, because three of the sherries that we're going to taste today, they belong to a category called Fino. All right, and the key thing about Fino is an element called flor, and flor is a yeast, nothing more and nothing less than the yeast that caused the fermentation of the wine. That after the fermentation, after fermentation is over, instead of dying, the yeast floats to the surface and it populates the surface of the wine, covering it completely, like the foam on a beer or on a cappuccino. And because the flor, the yeast, is a living organism, is in constant interaction with the wine, and it's what gives the wine its unique and distinctive character. So we're going to taste 3 different expressions of flor. Okay? The first one is a classic Fino. Tío Pepe is the benchmark in terms of Fino. Super light, delicate, clean, crisp. Then we're going to taste the special bottling called Fino en Rama, Tío Pepe en Rama. Because the flor yeast is a solid, Tío Pepe is filtered, like most white wines in the world, is filtered and stabilized to remove any solids from the wine. The reality is that when you're doing that, you strip a little bit of aroma and flavor. So we decided to give the consumer the experience of tasting Fino, tasting sherry, just as it would taste right out of the cask. We decided to do a very limited bottle of Fino en Rama, which is unfiltered sherry. It's bottled once a year in springtime, in May, when the floor yeast is at its thickest and the wine has more characters, more expressive. And we select a number of barrels that are really distinctive. And that wine is bottled without filtration. We just let the sediments decant, and then we bottle. So this has a short lifespan. Otherwise, after a while, after 4 or 5 months, it will start beginning. It will get cloudy. But it's the true expression of Fino, just as it would taste right out of the cask. It's like a boosted, juiced up Tío Pepe. And then we're gonna taste another wine called an Amontillado. And everybody's read The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe, of course, haven't you? Well, if you haven't, well, this is the sherry that they praise so much in that story. An Amontillado is a very old Fino. Basically what we do is we let the aging continue to the point where the floor yeast has consumed all of the nutrients in the wine. Once it has consumed all of the nutrients in the wine, the floor will die. It will sink to the bottom, leaving the wine exposed to air. And then that wine is going to begin a slow oxidation. The same effect as if you cut an apple and leave it on the kitchen table. After a while it goes brown, right? Well, that's what happens with wine. In most cases, that oxidation is undesirable and it will spoil the wine. But in the sherry, because they are fortified wines, is something that we desire, that we look for. So here you will see the concentrated goodness of a Fino showing slight hints of oxidation. Much more character, much more depth. So we go in crescendo. And this is our Fino adventure here. And last, I would say this wine to the very last. This is a wine made from Pedro Ximénez grapes, the other variety that we use in the region. When we harvest the Pedro Ximénez grapes, we leave them on the ground over mats after harvest for 10 or 15 days. With the sun of Andalusia just beating on the grapes, they shrivel, they dehydrate, they become raisins. Now, imagine crushing a raisin between your fingers. How much juice are you gonna get? Not much, right? Well, but the juice that you get is very concentrated. It has a lot of sugar. So that undergoes a partial fermentation. It's impossible to ferment all of those sugars. It goes a partial fermentation. The wine gets to about 9% of alcohol and it retains a lot of residual sugar. That is fortified and bottled here, and fortified, aged in the Solera system as well, and bottled. So it's a wine that has a lot of residual sugar. Very sweet. It tastes like raisins, molasses, prunes, dates. Very complex. There's no sweeter dessert wine in the world. So I would save this to last. It's a dessert by itself. So I encourage you to come along and taste the wines and get some sardinas and have a great time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just a question, in Rama, are we the only people that are tasting this product?
Exactly. This is the En Rama. I shipped from Spain, so this is the en primeur tasting of En Rama in the United States. So you're the privileged ones that are going to taste it for the first time in the United States.
Wow, okay. Thank you.
Excellent. We're going to go around and pour the Tío Pepe, and after that En Rama, and we'll finish with the Amontillado, and we'll finish with Pedro.